Can we just appreciate how perfect this lighting is for a second? I'm so excited about this lighting. Hello, welcome back to the Bliss feed. In today's video, we're going to be talking about books. I used to be absolutely obsessed with reading. I'd read entire books in one evening. My parents were worried about me ruining my vision, and I did ruin my vision, but I don't know if that was the books. But all that changed probably around when I hit middle school and homework became a thing. But then in high school, I kind of started learning more about all the different kinds of books that are out there, mainly in the non-fiction and like self-help genre. That's what I'm super interested in. So on to the book recommendations. So the first book is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, or the version that I read, which was 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens by his son, Sean Covey. I'm not entirely sure what the differences between them are. The habits are the same. I guess the explanations are just different. Also, the teen version has this cheesy cover of a pair of earbuds hanging out of jean pockets, but I'm sure they both present basically the same information, so I'm just going to recommend both of them. The 7 habits basically cover how to manage your life and succeed at life. So some examples are: be proactive, put first things first, think win-win. Obviously, those are just the chapter headings and they go into a lot more detail, but they're actually so practical and helpful. One of my absolute favorite lessons from that book, and basically the only one that's really stuck with me since I read this book years ago, was this metaphor that they used to explain how to make time for everything in your life and prioritize. So basically they said, imagine that your life and like the time that you have available is a jar, and then all of your commitments and responsibilities or things you want to do are in the form of big rocks, pebbles, and sand. So those big rocks are big projects, like writing a book, starting a business. The smaller rocks are smaller projects, maybe like homework assignments that you have to do for school. And then the sand is very little things. Like, they can definitely still be important things, but they're just short and flexible and don't take a lot of time. So when you're trying to fill your jar, if you start with the sand, all of those little minutia and little odds and ends, you're gonna fill it up like halfway, and then the rocks are not gonna fit. I know this is a weird metaphor, but stick with me. On the other hand, if you start out by putting the rocks in your jar, the biggest and then the smallest and then the sand, then the sand will kind of fill in all of the little grooves between the rocks. So basically what this is saying is that you need to prioritize the biggest things in your life. You need to actually block out time for them and then let everything else fall into place around it. Next up is The Body Book by Diaz. Yes, the actress. There's always like speculation whenever a celebrity writes a book, like, did they really write that book or did they hire someone? I don't know if she wrote it. I would hope so, but it doesn't matter who wrote it because the material of the book is what I'm going to comment on. I really like this book because the advice was just so straightforward and simple, and it wasn't focused on like weight loss or trying to look a certain way or anything like that. It was literally just like, here's how your body works, here's the biology explained in the most basic terms, and here's how you can help it function better so that you can feel better. I'd say some of it is a little bit basic, but like if there's something that you already know, just literally skip over it. It doesn't matter. I know, I'm also the type of person who feels like they have to get through the entire book and read every single part of it, but it's okay to skip parts that aren't helpful to you. One little anecdote that I really liked from this book, I have a very fuzzy memory of it, so I don't even know if I'm going to tell it correctly, but basically Diaz was hanging out with some little kids. That sounds weird. Just like younger relatives or kids she knew, and they decided to run up this hill together. They ran up the hill and they were like sweating and out of breath, and the kids were like, oh my gosh, that felt really good, that was really fun, we should do that again. And she took the opportunity to explain to them. She was like, I make sure to do something like that every day that gets my heart beating because it feels good and energizes me. And I just really appreciated that super like bare bones look at what exercise really is, because I feel like a lot of times we just get too caught up in like the aesthetic benefits of exercise, how is it going to make me look, and we forget the fact that it actually just makes you feel good. And that's the primary reason why you should be doing it. I think viewing it that way makes it more enjoyable and makes it easier to stick with. Okay, next up, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss is this really unique, really cool guy. I don't know, I just feel like he lives life on a different level than most of us do. But basically part of it literally does explain how one might set up an online business that you only need to put in about 4 hours or so of work into. But a lot of it is more like time management tips and productivity techniques, and just kind of teaching you how to recognize what is inefficient and unnecessary in your life. Like meetings that could have been emails that never needed to be sent in the first place, long-winded phone calls, dolls, just a lot of things that we've kind of come to accept in the day-to-day of our working lifestyles, but that maybe if you look at it closely really aren't necessary. So while I think a lot of the book isn't applicable to everyone's lives, like not everyone and not a lot of people have the flexibility to get some sort of remote job or completely quit their job and take the risk on an online business, I think what you can pull out from it is this attitude of like taking charge of your time and not accepting the way that things are normally done just because it's the way that things are normally done. Instead, trying to figure out how things could be better and more efficiently done. The next book is also by Tim Ferriss. It's called Tribe of Mentors. Basically, he interviewed a bunch of really successful people and asked all of them the same questions and then compiled it into a big book. I think the magic of a book like this is that it's so full of different kinds of information that even though not everything will apply to you, something will. One thing that I noticed from this book was that almost everyone mentioned one of these two things: exercise and meditation. Like literally after reading that book, you'd think that exercise and meditation are the recipe for a happy, productive, and successful life. And I don't know, maybe they are. But it was just really funny how often you'd flip to a new interview and this person would be like, I do plyometric exercises for 30 minutes every morning, and then I do transcendental meditation for 2 hours a day. You would not believe how many people mention transcendental meditation. I'm still not really even sure what it is after having read the book, but apparently a lot of successful people do it. So the next book is She Means Business by Carrie, and I actually do have a copy of this book. Ta-da! Carrie is pretty amazing. She started the Female Entrepreneur Association, and so this book is basically a roadmap for how to start an online business. It's really, really extremely motivating. It guides you through all of the steps, gives you actual like real-life examples of how she applied her own advice to her own business, and there's a 30-day challenge at the end that I didn't actually do, but it seems really cool and really helpful. So if you've ever thought about doing this online business thing, this modern infopreneur thing, definitely a good book to check out. Next is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I picked up this book because I read Eat, Pray, Love and I really liked it, and also the cover was really pretty. Basically, this book is just a really, really interesting perspective on what creativity is and what ideas are and how ideas come to you and how you bring them to life. One of my favorite bits of advice in this book was a little bit counterintuitive, and I think that's why I liked it. Basically, she said, if you have a creative passion that you're following, don't quit your day job because of it. Because she says, if you expect your creative passion to turn into your career, you might grow to hate it because you're being forced to like squeeze every last drop out of it and try to make it earn a living for you, and you can't really enjoy it the way you did before it was just like a side hobby. I also really liked her perspective on fear and how she talked about how fear is a natural part of life and you should have it in your life, but you shouldn't let it be in the driver's seat because you don't want it to control your life. You just have to keep it in the back seat. Next is The Power of a Positive No by William Ury. I read this book because I need to learn how to say no, and I think I've gotten better at it, and this book definitely helped. I personally thought it was a bit long-winded, but the basic process that it explains is that instead of saying no, you say yes, no, yes. And so the idea behind this is that before you say no, you have to kind of get clear on what it is that you actually want in life and how that doesn't align with whatever someone is asking of you. So you have to first say yes to the things that are most important to you, then say no to what is being asked of you, and then you kind of start the process of reaching a compromise by saying yes. So the book gave a lot of really good real-life examples of this. The author, William Ury, has actually been involved in like a lot of political negotiations, which was really interesting to read because I think a lot of the people who read this book are just reading it to apply it to like problems at work, in their personal life, but it's crazy to see that these same techniques actually get applied to huge international conflicts, and it's still the same principles that are guiding people. My last recommendation is kind of more of a fun one. It's the Rookie Yearbook, and there are 4 editions of this book, so I'm pretty sure I've only read the first one, but it was amazing, and I'm sure the rest are amazing as well. So if you've never heard of Tavi Gevinson, I was a little bit obsessed with her in 9th grade. Basically, she started a style blog when she was 11, and probably in less than a year, she became a celebrity of sorts. She got really, really well known. She was attending fashion events around the world, getting interviewed by the New York Times about her blog, and when she was 15, I believe, she started a website called Rookie, and it was a place for teenagers to share writing and art. Basically, as cheesy as it sounds, it was by teens for teens. I just learned that they have since stopped updating the website, which is sad, but it was amazing, 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 and it's still up, so you should check it out. The Rookie Yearbook basically compiled like a year's worth of content from their website, their best articles, photography, things like that, and the way the book is formatted and laid out is just the most beautiful thing. Definitely the most aesthetically pleasing book I've ever read. So not only is the content itself amazing, but just the way that it's presented is so incredibly inspiring. So yes, highly recommend that.